Hello viewers, good morning once again and welcome to Fire Safety Matters. It is yet another Tuesday and I'm here with my resource people to take us through or to walk us through the nitty-gritties of Fire Safety Matters. That is LI 1724. My name is Station Officer 2 Michael Walter Wakai. Before I introduce my resource people, let's go for a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
I came across power safety technology. So I introduced that into our residents, who are more than 4,000. And over the period, they have testified how power safety technology have saved them when the need arises.
Power safety. Safety is our hallmark.
Hello once again viewers, you are most welcome. Without wasting time, let me take the opportunity to welcome our resource people. We are still privileged to have Deputy Chief Officer retired, Kwame Kwatin with us, who is right on my immediate right, and then to the extreme end is DO1 David Afo. David, you are most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
In fact, we are still on our topic. The topic we started about 3-4 weeks ago. I believe today we'll be able to seal the topic and then we'll go to the next topic. We've been able to deal with means of escape. We've also talked about early detection and warning systems. But somebody asked me a question because last week we talked about gas detectors. So a friend of mine wanted to know what a gas detector is. We were not able to touch on that. So, Dio Afo, if you can just handle that one briefly for us so that we go to the suppression system.
Thank you. Good morning to our viewers. To go straight to the question that you asked, when we talk about gas detector is a device that is installed in the kitchen area, and it will detect and then raise an alarm.
Yes, if you say it that way, it sounds so simple. How then, where do we install? Because I know gas is denser than oxygen, so when there is leakage, it displaces it to the floor. So sighting of this gas detector becomes a problem. Yes. Where then do you sight it?
I said in the kitchen.
In the kitchen?
In the kitchen, not on the floor.
Okay.
But rather it should be either on the wall or the surface of the ceiling. But I would prefer that it is installed on the wall. And most often these detectors are plugged into a socket. So just by the socket, you plug in your detector and it will pick the gas as and when it leaks.
Dempsey, can you touch on it?
What I want to add to it is that it's not only in the kitchen. You can have an environment that produces gas or test gas leakage. For instance, when you have these plants like a Twabo that deals with gas in large quantities, there are always means of putting this system either within the pipeline or within or on top of the pipeline. So in case there's a leakage of the gas somewhere, it gives an indication for them to see on the control panel or that there's a gas leakage somewhere within the line. So it's not only confined to kitchen. Kitchen is a very simple area for your own house detection system. Some of them, apart from mounting them on the doors, they can also be fixed on top of the kitchen roof to smell gas. When it picks it up, it will give an alarm. So it's not only for kitchen, but for an environment which keeps a lot of, a large amount of gas. And they also check gas leakages. In Europe, it's quite, it's quite done because they use the gas systems that are piped into rooms. So, or they use pipelines that carries the gas from one point or from the container into the chamber that is lighten it. So they need to know that there's a leakage around the area, because gas in principle travels to the source of fire and brings the fire towards the container. So if you don't detect it very fast, you have a problem. That's what happens when there's a gas leakage and somebody goes to strike a match or something light, then the fire comes straight onto the person who has the source of ignition. And you said the whole person gets burnt. So it's good that you have a gas detector in the environment that...
Let me add another.
Yeah.
We have another one which is called carbon monoxide detectors. These ones are installed at the car parks. When there's smoke, the garages, car parks, especially undergrounds, car parks, so that the emissions from the vehicles, as they emit and they get to a certain threshold, it will trigger and then indicate at the control panel.
So when, be it the carbon monoxide, which is one particular way I know a lot of people even commit suicide, especially when you go to the Western world. A lot of people connect their pipes to their vehicles, and then that is it. But we don't want to teach people, so we won't dwell much on it. When it happens like this, how do you disperse this gas, especially when it comes to the LPGs that we use in our respective houses? We are being told they multiply themselves. As they said, when a cubic of a centimeter is discharged in the atmosphere, it multiplies itself by 250 times. So how are we supposed to ventilate these places? Be it both the gas and then the carbon monoxide, if we should have such concentration in a particular area.
Since we are talking about safety, if you find the gas leaking, the first thing you need to do is to make sure if the cylinder, it's not a practice, it's not a good thing. If the cylinder sits in the kitchen, you make sure you take it out of that area or that environment it is leaking. Thereafter, you need to also open the openings, the doors and the windows for a minimum of 10 minutes. The idea is that the natural air will just neutralize the gas so that you will not find yourself in a mess.
Okay.
And also another thing is that in such situations, switches are not supposed to be put on, so that you allow those things to, and make sure that the environment, the air in that room, you can smell a natural air, not an odor or a gas that is leaking before you switch on this.
All right.
You brought in more. I told you about firefighting as a science.
Exactly.
You see, all these products that you're talking about have their flash points,
Exactly.
burning points. They are all in there. So if you have carbon monoxide and you have a little bit of background in chemistry, you will know that when you add more oxygen, it tends to become carbon dioxide. And the carbon dioxide itself is a suppression system that can do. So you will have to apply science. But as he said, carbon monoxide is filled. It can, stop breathe. It can help. It will not help you to breathe well. So you will be choked and you'll be knocked down by it. So the best thing, yes, very good. So what you have to do is to give more air. But then you have to compare the carbon monoxide against situation of fire, because the three components that brings in fire, if you open and there's fire there, you are going to add more oxygen to it. So you must be statical. That's one of your cardinal marks, to know which one to apply, that you will not make the fire become worse. So science comes to play when you're dealing with such products, and you have to handle them in fire situations.
Thank you. I believe those of you listening to us or watching us, at least you understand. We won't delve deep because we'll get the opportunity to go into causes of gas fires and other things. So we'll leave it right here. But it is always advisable that you have your gas cylinders outside of your kitchen, because when there's a leakage and it is in a confined area, we are being told that the gas multiplies itself, and that gas is enough to serve what as a chain, goes into a chain form, just like my deputy said, and then go to another source, pick fire, and bring it back to where the gas is. So let us be careful. Whenever it is outside and there's leakage, it dissipates into the air. So we are not able to have that gas being concentrated at a particular area that can start fires. Okay, sir, I'm coming back to you, Dio. We are going to talk about suppression systems. Last week you touched on a little bit of suppression system. You talked about the manual ones and then the automatic ones. Can you please enlighten us the more?
Okay, thank you. When we talk about suppression system, we have two types. We have the manual and automatic. The manual ones are those that we have. Example is a fire extinguisher, portable fire extinguishers, and any other firefighting equipment that you can use.
That has to be operated manually.
That is manual suppression system. Then when it comes to the automatic suppression system, we can talk of a sprinkler as one form. We also have the gas suppression systems and the others.
Such as the FM200.
FM200. In fact, I will not recommend the FM200. Rather, I would rather recommend Argonite. An inert gas suppression system.
Suppression system. Okay. All right. Sir, let's come to the manual ones first before we delve into that of the... so let's look at the fire extinguishers.
Okay.
What does the law say about the fire extinguisher? Who is even supposed to bring a fire extinguisher?
All right. I think I need to make this very clear. Before you import or manufacture a fire extinguisher, sample of that product must be made available to the Fire Service Technical Advisory Committee, and it comes with the specifications and the kind of job that it has to do. All those things are written on the data sheet. The Technical Advisory Committee will approve or otherwise before you bring the product in.
So for the benefit of our listeners, who are those who constitute the technical team before we come to?
The Technical Advisory team is chaired by the Chief Fire Officer. Then representatives as members from the various firefighting institutions. We have people from Crash Rescue and Fire Service, that is the airport, Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority. We have people from the Ghana Army, Ghana Water Company, Electricity Company of Ghana. And then we have members who are nominated and approved by the Fire Service Council, of which I'm also a member too, must be accepted before. So it covers about 13 companies. We have people from the mines, Chamber of Mines are part of the team. So with they sit down, look at the product, look at the data sheet, and then go to the Fire Service Technical, what they call it, training school, and let you, who brought the product, do the experiment, set the fire, and then when we look at whether it's meeting the standard of which you have done. We have also members from the Ghana Standard
Board
Authority. Now, they are also co-opted into support before the product will be approved, before you put it on the market. So, if you see anybody selling extinguisher, it means that that person has gone through the process and has had approval from the Fire Service Technical Advisory Committee before putting it on the market. I must also add that if it is found that that product is of inferior quality and does not meet the standards, maybe you might bring the correct sample for approval, and after that you go and bring something and it's noticed. The Technical Advisory Committee will also advise the Minister for the Interior for the withdrawal of the product from the market, and then that is the end of that product. Will not be seen again.
Is there a representative from the Ministry of Interior on that board?
This technical committee, no. We don't have a member from the Ministry of Interior, but the member from the council, there's always a member of Interior on the council, but not on the Technical Advisory Committee.
So is it not enough for the chair, who is the chief officer, and the standard board to rather take this thing off board than rather going back to report to the Ministry of Interior, who that has not, may not necessarily even have the technical know-how when it comes to these products we are talking about?
See, you must bear in mind that the Fire Service is under the Minister of Interior. Every institution, like the military defense, police is under Interior. So whatever you want to do, you need the authority, the political authority, which is the minister. So anything that relates to fire service that requires the public and other things to know is always the minister of the interior that has the authority to say this product must come out of. We know we have other security, private securities. They are also registered under the Ministry of Interior, and if they cannot hold arms because of the rules. So we cannot do anything without approval or the authority from the minister, and that's what the law, the LI 1724, has made it clear. That's why you need a minister for advice. You advise the minister that this product is not good and therefore must be withdrawn from the market.
All right, viewers, you can also contribute to this program via our social media handles. When it is time, we'll announce the lines for you to call.
Now to your question.
Yes, sir.
About the extinguishers. There are various types of extinguishers.
And I want to know the types. Yes, I wanted to give that one to
the young man is more caring than I am. Maybe.
We keep hearing about extinguishers.
Yes.
Extinguishers. And that is all we hear. What are the types of those extinguishers? Do we have types?
When we talk about extinguishers, we have two categories. We are talking about the portable ones and non-portable ones. So let me deal with the portable ones. The portable one, we are talking about dry powder, foam, carbon dioxide. These are the general ones that we use. Some also use water, but in Ghana we don't recommend water fire extinguishers. And when it comes to these extinguishers, they have color codes. The color codes helps an individual to identify the type of medium being used. So if you look at the dry powder, it's blue. If you look at the CO2, it's supposed to be black. And then we have the foam as cream. But in recent times, there has been some changes. So all fire extinguishers are supposed to be painted red. But with the former color, either in the middle part, that's the 1/3 part of the extinguisher, or the head assembly. So these are the things that we used in the system.
Okay. So viewers, what we are being told, they mentioned the word portable. We say fire extinguisher is a portable firefighting device containing an extinguishing medium used in fighting fires at the incipient stages. Portable because it comes in handy. So you can see what I have here. This is a 3 kg fire extinguisher. That is the carbon dioxide fire extinguisher. And just as he said, the color coding, we formerly had colors that depicted the fire extinguishers. In fact, we have 5 main fire extinguishers. We have the water fire extinguisher, the foam fire extinguisher, the dry chemical powder, the carbon dioxide, and then halons. Halons are not friendly, so they've been discarded from use. And then like the color codes you talked about. So you can see the carbon dioxide has blue here. You can see, black here, black on top of where the carbon dioxide is written. We have black here. Those in the near past, the whole extinguisher would have been black, but now it is red. But then you can see the carbon dioxide written in the black, a little patch here. Yes, and then you see the same thing on the dry chemical powder is blue. As you can see there, the dry chemical powder is blue. Unfortunately, we don't have the foam here, which is cream. We don't have the halons, which were green. So that is it.
Yes. But as yes, he's mentioned the types. Each of them has specific area that you must place them. He did talk about water extinguisher, which we don't recommend for offices and houses, or in an environment which are likely to have electrical usage, like your TV, fridge, and then you have fire and you want to put water on it, you end up killing yourself. But if you have a sawmill, quite a big place that normally has this kind of spontaneous combustions happening after the dust has built its own heat and created its own environment to start the fire, you must have water to cool it. So if you have a small portable fire extinguisher, like water type, is accepted in those areas. So you will not see it in the shops and where electrical, but in sawmills we can have a water extinguisher. As he also explained, it's always important to consult. You can walk into the fire service office and tell them you want a fire extinguisher for your premises. And these are the activities that you do there. Then they will look at it and advise you. This will be efficient, this will not be efficient, this will be better, and this will be that. And you must also bear in mind the kind of people who are going to use the extinguisher. If you go and put a very big and a heavy extinguisher, there's nobody that will want to pick those extinguishers and go and fight the fire. So we have weights ranging from 1 kg, 2 kg, 4 kg, 6 kg. I mean kg, that's in kilograms as it is. So you see the ones in the car are maybe 1 kilo or 2 kilos. They pick it. It depends on your size of car. If you have maybe Sprinter and you go and buy 1 kg, 1 kg extinguisher can last for maybe 30 seconds. It will get less. It will get finished. So you must seek the experts' advice. And that is one of the functions of fire service. They are, by law, to advise on fire extinguishers. So if you don't just go and buy any extinguisher and put it in your house or any property, you must come for the advice. But then we have the experts who are the consultants who will look at the facility and say, you don't need this. You need this weight to be able to combat this particular situation when it happens. So there are factors that must be considered.
What goes into the consideration of what particular extinguisher is used in a particular premises?
We need to look at activities and the use of the place and the premises. That is critical. I said that these extinguishers also need to be mounted on the wall, not on the floor.
Not on the floor.
Preferably maybe 1 meter or at the waist level, so that you can easily remove and then use it.
Yes, that has been a challenge, because you go to some places and then extinguishers are mounted at the top. So that today we know it is wrong.
It is wrong.
And the extinguisher should be at what? The waist level.
Waist level.
Where it is very easy to access it.
Then you need to also have what we call service tag. By law, you are supposed to...
yes, we'll be coming to the service tags and, and other things. Yes, sir. When you go to filling stations, we consider those areas as high-risk areas. Mostly, the extinguishers are placed close to the hazardous materials. What is supposed to serve as the hazard is where we place these extinguishers. Is it right? Because anywhere we go, we see extinguishers there, on where they are close to either the pumps and then other areas that have high risk.
Yeah, I would consider finish a potential high risk. Because if it's a high risk, then you are not supposed to be there.
There, exactly.
So I would take it as a potential high risk. So in terms of the firefighting equipment that you've mentioned, extinguishers are not supposed to be installed in the hazard area. It should be some distance away, so that as the thing happens, you can easily reach the extinguisher and then apply it appropriately. But unfortunately, we find them close to where the hazard is. That is where they dispense the fuel.
In an emergency, it becomes a white elephant, because everybody is fleeing from.
Then another thing we also find is that you see at the filling stations, you have a box with a sun.
Yes, I'll be coming to that. I want to know, is that also an extinguishing medium?
No. The
so
sun
why
is
do
there.
they paint the buckets?
The sun there is just
and then they write fire on it.
You know, as you dispense, some of the fuel drops. So you use the sun to just
soak it. So it's supposed to serve as a bridge.
Yes.
That will soak.
So then you take it out. It is not meant for firefighting. But in some situations where you have nothing, then you can try your... Yes.
A friend of mine asked this question, and then one day when I tried to explain it, he said, no, but it's supposed... I said, no. The fact that when there is fire and you remove your dress or your top to beat the fire out doesn't make your dress a fire extinguisher. So the fact that you may employ the sand to douse fire doesn't make it an extinguishing medium. And that's the purpose for which it is there. But the question is, why do they write fire on it? on the bucket. Most of this, when you go there, you see it painted red, and then they've written fire on it. Deputy.
You see, technology has evolved. Extinguisher is not common, has not been common. This technology that has brought all this kind of firefighting first aid equipment in place. Earlier on, even in the ship, they were carrying buckets with sand. The sand has the relationship, or the quasi form of powder. So the moment you put the sand on the soaking or fire distance, it does it and makes a form of a blanket that does not allow oxygen to have contact to continue with the fire. So that is why in some filling stations you will not even see the sand. You will see sawdust in there because they think the sawdust is able to absorb. Now to the first question that you asked, the extinguisher on the island, what is it protecting? Is it the fuel in the tank or in the dispensing machine, or the possibility of a car packed and fueling and causing the fire? These are the issues that we need to look at. You know, the system has so been designed that what could cause fire, like static electricity, or that could cause the fire, the means of pouring the fuel into the tank and all has been taken. They are fully earthed, but a car parked there can start the fire. So there's another school of thought that if this extinguisher is so far away from the island, and the one that we want to protect is the fire that might come out of the car or the motorbike, do we run and go and pick the extinguisher and come and do it, or we put it on the island? So in two ways, fire on itself does not start on the island or the pump area. It is the activity that has come closer, which is the car or the motorbike that has parked there, or somebody using his mobile phone and starting the fire, is what you are trying to use the extinguisher to prevent. So there is a technical man on the ground. He understands where I'm coming from. So in placing extinguishers can have two reasons. Whether you want to keep it a distance, you can pick it and bring it to do the firefighting, or you put it closer to the danger to use it. So they have two ways of, there are two schools of thought, that you must keep it on the island or you keep it at a distance where you can get access to use it to do the firefighting.
Viewers, we are learning a lot. You can still contribute. You can bring your contributions, your questions to GNFS Official on all our social media handles. It is GNFS Official. So anytime you send your questions, we'll read them out for our resource people to answer them. So the fire extinguisher. Before I come to the usage, I want to look at other manual fire fighting systems that we have.
Okay. Thank you. In terms of the manual, we have the hose reel. Then we have the risers. Risers we have dry and wet. And then fire hydrants, if the facility can afford, then they install a hydrant in addition to the wet riser or dry riser or hose reel. In some situations, we have what we call rack. In addition to that, let me take the dry risers. Let me start with the hose reel. The hose reel,
but please add it to us for add this question to it. The hose reels, the wet risers, the dry risers, are they for the firemen to come and use?
I'll explain that. I'll do that. So let's take it. The hose reel is meant for the occupier, and the hose reel is connected to a water storage facility with a booster pump. So as you pull, you turn the drum and you pull out the hose, the water automatically comes out. But unfortunately, in practice, or if you go to some premises, you notice that they rather use tap, which means you have to turn it on before the water flows. But it's supposed to be automatic. And that one you need not travel more than 30 meters within the building. These hose are supposed to be installed in the building, not outside the building. So let's take note of that. Then the risers are meant for...
So before you go to the risers,
yes.
So do we need hose reel in any other office? Or which particular offices do you think will need a hose reel?
Yes, for you to install the hose reel, you need to also do some risk profiling first for you to understand the hazard level, the extent. Sometimes you need to look at the impact, should it happen, before you installed. But in practice, you may find these hose reels maybe installed in any building, but you cannot just wake up and say that I want a hose reel. For instance, your residence, do you need a hose reel?
No.
No. But in high-rise buildings, you need them. So these things have to be installed there. Then the occupier, trained officers, or let me say wardens, will use these hose reels. On the hose reel, you have an inscription on it. It tells you how to operate it. So you need to look at all the instructions that you have on it. Then you do that. In some situations, you may have in a foreign language. So in that situation, the installer needs to change that language to English language to conform to our practice. Then let's move on to the risers. The risers, you could have the wet and then the dry.
In fact, before you go to the risers, I would like Deputy Kwati to comment on the hose reel, and then we'll go for a commercial break. When we come back, we'll take it off from there.
Thank you. I think he has made it very clear. It's for the use by the occupants who are trained to use it. So we have fire wardens or fire marshals or wardens that have been trained to use this, the hose reel. These hose reels in Ghana, because of our weather, it's always fully charged. It means there's water in there. And anytime you pull it from the ring or the container, it's able to reach about 30 meters for you to do the firefighting from that end. You see, if you don't know how to use it and you have not been trained how to use it, and you open and the tap, water starts flowing, you can have problem. If you are not able to handle it very well and it begins to flap left and right, it will hit you like how the snake hits. So you need to be very careful. So that's why we have to train the people in the usage of that particular facility in there. It is in there for them. He has explained it very well. So
Yes, but then, when do we use the hose reel?
You see, as we have explained, the hose reels are charged with water. And therefore, the environment should not cause, or what you're going to use to protect, you should not cause water damage. If it's a production area that deals with the press house, that uses a lot of paper storage, and you're going to use that hose reel as an initial stage of preventing fire, you will douse the fire very, very fast. But at the end of the day, if you're not careful,
a lot of damage will be done.
So you must weigh. That's why I said activities performed there is very, very, very critical for you to get the expert advice before you know what
to install there.
But I always mention, if your fire code is saying that a building that has this production factory or has this facility must have a hose reel, then they have done their research and noticed that that particular facility will have it. Then you must install it. So it is critical.
As we said, the fire extinguishers are portable. You know, we have fire stages.
Yeah.
The early stage, the growth stage, probably, is it when all the extinguishers fail at the early stage and is getting to the growth stage that we can as well rely on the hose reel?
You see, initially, you said in incipient stage, fires start very simple. The first one to apply is the extinguisher. But maybe you couldn't see the fire and you realize that using the extinguisher will not solve the problem. Abandon the extinguisher and go for the hose reel to do that, because then the fire is becoming bigger. The fire is now growing. Extinguishers can be used for a period of about 2 to 3
No,
2 minutes.
Even 2 minutes.
Yes, it means it's the weight, the content. If you are using the one that has the trolley, that can go for about 25 kilos, that it means it can last for some number of. But if you're using this kind of thing, it's about 2 minutes, it will get finished, definitely. And you have rather wasting the fire. I'm just giving. So you have wasting the situation. So if it's not a matter of throwing the extinguisher into the fire, extinguisher to throw it in fire does not work. You must go closer to it to put the fire off. So don't attempt to say that this fire extinguisher, I can throw it. No. Then you need the water to do that. If you don't have the hose reel because the building does not have, then you must have a way. Immediately must call the fire service because it's getting out of hand and you cannot control. What some want to do is they will run around, shout fire and go and look for a bucket of water, climb down, up and bring it. Before they get the fire has gotten seat. That is when they don't be looking for the fire service to come in. So the moment you pull the hose reel, that means the situation is becoming bigger. Immediately call the fire service to come and do their work.
Thank you. Viewers, let's go for our first commercial break. We'll be right back.
I came across power safety technology. So I introduced that into our residents, who are more than 4,000. And over the period, they have testified how power safety technology have saved them when the need arises.
Power safety. Safety is our hallmark.
Hello, cherished viewers. Once again, we are back and we'll be touching on other areas. So let me go straight to Dio Afu. Dio, you wanted to talk about the
Rises.
The rises.
Okay, let me make it simple. When we talk about riser, it's a vertical pipeline. It could be PVC or any other approved material run from the lower part of the building, preferably the ground floor, up to the height of the building. That is a riser. And then at each level of the landing area, an outlet is created called landing valves. And those things, you see them as you climb the steps in any office, high-rise building. You see those things. They are landing valves where the fire officer will connect. I will not use coupling. Will connect the hoses and then run the pipelines to run the hose to fight the fire to any area that there's fire there. So that is a riser. But before the fire service can come in, if it is a dry riser, there's a need to provide what we call inlet breaching, an outlet where fire service will connect. Let me use the simple word because we are dealing with the public. The fire service, where fire service will connect their hoses to run the water from the fire tender throughout the pipeline or the riser. Sometimes also the fire service can come in and then they will connect and link it to the hydrant. If you have a hydrant, meaning that fire service will not use the water that they brought, but will rather use the water in the hydrant through the inlet breaching. That's the inlet breaching through the pipe. Once you get there, then the firefighter will move into the building and then move to the area that the fire is, and then he will connect the hoses and then start fighting the fire at that level. But if it's a wet riser, meaning a pipeline that is connected to a booster pump, and that pump also comes with what we call jockey that reads the pressure level, and it boosts the pressure level for you to know the pressure that you are using. In that situation, the moment you open the valve, because it's automatic, the system operates by itself. Then you start fighting the fire.
The difference between the dry riser or the wet riser as against that of the hose reel is the risers are meant for the fire service to come and connect and continue firefighting, whereas the hose reels is for the occupier to use it. I remember there was a time we had a simulation exercise. I won't mention the office name. And so after we were asking them why they didn't reach out for extinguishers, and they said no. As for the hose reel and the extinguishers, they are for the fire service to come and use. So we asked why they were being trained on that. They said, no, they can't risk themselves, but it is the fire service that has to.
So let me explain the dry and the wet. Yes. The dry means that there's no water running at the time the fire occurred. But with the wet, you have water running through. So these are the differences. And Deputy mentioned initially, we need to also, because of our climatic conditions, we mostly adapt the wet system.
Okay, let me just announce the phone lines to those of you who want to join us by phone. The line is 050-9608-744. 050-960-8744. Yes, sir.
To add to what he said, he's talking about a pipeline. He has described it perfect. Normally, these ones are done by mechanical engineers. And the outlet should be in such a way that the fire service, when they come, they can use it. Now, if you are a firefighter and you have to carry a hose from a ground floor to the fifth floor, before you get to the fifth floor, you are really exhausted because you are not going to go, if you don't have a fireman's lift, that means you go through the stairs to that particular point. You will get exhausted. That is why these systems are provided on each floor. In addition, the occupier or the owner of the property must provide a fire point and put hose reel in there. And the outlets and the coupling side, that is where you can take the water. He will just pick the hose from that cage, walk to the place, just pick the hose from that point, connect it, and move straight to the area where the fire is. Then carrying a fire hose from the fire truck and going all the way to that place. So it helps the firefighter to get more energy to do its job. That is why we say the hose reels, the landing valves are for firefighters. And you know, the amount of water that will come from that pipe, because the pipe diameter is quite big. If you are not a trained firefighter and you just go and open and pull that thing out, you will die because the water will throw you, you cannot handle
pressure from the water.
That is why we always see 2 firefighters going at a time. One with the branch, that's the one that has the one that opens the water onto the pit, being supported by, it's not that the people are playing that one holds the other, but because of the amount of pressure that is coming from the system, that is why we always have to get a fireman to support to move into the place. So the hose, the landing valves and the risers are for firefighters. The occupiers should leave that one. And we also want to make it clear that during inspection, some premises have turned that particular cage into a refuse dump.
Yes.
They put, when they finish eating, polythene bags, right? So it is your fire service duty every 6 months to go there and check that you're fighting to is active and safe. And that is a very big tax for the fire service. You need to go in there, and that's the fire inspector will go and check that that thing is safe. That is.
Just to add something on the riser. You know, once you run there are other pipes that also are run throughout the building. So what it means is that there are color codes. So in that area, if you see yellow, meaning it's telling you a gas. Green is water, and red.
So it is a dart that is created.
Yes.
And all the pipes
run
go through it. So you should be able to identify what is a riser, be it the dry or wet, because you have other pipes running through.
Yes.
And I know normally it is the dart on the building that takes all those ones.
But for the sake of the occupier, normally a special area is dedicated and it is labeled as fire. Normally some will write H, meaning that fire hydrant, but it is not fire hydrant. It's a riser. They label it.
As you explained earlier, the fire service will use this truck via the hydrant and pump water into the risers. Now, the property can also have its own dedicated water tank with a pump that he has stated to pump the water. But there is a caveat, a standard, a level. The water in there, some of them use it for both domestic and firefighting. And there's always a mark on the containers. 2/3 of the water should be meant reserved for firefighting. So any inspector who goes to look at those tanks must make sure that 2/3 of the water that is in that tank is for firefighting. The property owner cannot use more than 1/3 of the water in there. And this is one of the inspector's responsibilities, to make sure that there's water in there. So that we will not be blamed that you came without water, because the amount of water that is there should be able to help, because it has been calculated that if we have to use continuous flow of water for 1 hour of this pressure at this time on each of the 4 or 10 floors, the water should be continuous.
Okay, so
to what Deputy just said, to help our colleagues to differentiate or to determine whether it is 2/3, if you inspect the storage facility, there are 2 pipes in there where you have domestic pipe being run into it and then the firefighting. The domestic one is shorter as against that of firefighting. So the mark that he just mentioned, the pipe will end there for domestic. So at that level, even if they want to use the water will not flow. But with the firefighting, it is deeper as compared to that of the domestic. So these are the practical things.
So that means the ones that are connected to the source of water.
The source of the reservoir.
Yes, a reservoir. Okay. All right, thank you. Let me leave that of the automatic suppression systems and then come back to the extinguishers again. When is it ideal for institutions to service their fire extinguishers?
Let me come in here. Extinguishers are always serviced to the manufacturer's specification. If the manufacturer says that after a year, the extinguisher must be serviced. If the manufacturer's specification that after every 5 years, it must go through electrostatic test to make sure that the pressure can be contained in the site, it must be followed. But as to the content that must be there, you must look at it. There are gauges on the extinguishers, especially on this particular
the dry
powder. These are the gauges that you have in there. You have the right. You have a green in there, an upper which shows higher pressure, lower which shows this. When it falls below the green and the lower side, it means whenever you take it and use it, it will, this one will not come.
Because the gauge has fallen.
Very good.
The pressure has fallen.
Sometimes it will surprise you that they have a routine check that they must check. There was a filling station that we had that experience. They were told by whoever installed that they must test them periodically. Did not tell them when that periodically means. So when they come in the morning, they will go and take the extinguisher, press it. They release the powder. When the actual thing happened, it happened in Medina New Road.
I also have an experience where
when the fire actually occurred, the people went for it, and there was no powder in the extinguisher. And they started blaming the one who installed it, that he didn't do the correct thing. And then investigations proved that this is how the extinguisher was used. So in servicing the extinguisher, there's a period meant for. And whoever serviced the extinguisher will put his service tag and his company name on it. That is why we said we fire officers are regulators. We go and see that A has serviced this. The next servicing date is a year's time.
It's not coming here.
So when you come and you realize that the gauge has fallen, it means the amount of pressure on it is low. If the amount of pressure on it is low, then it must be topped up.
Hello, I think we have a caller on the line. Hello.
Okay.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Please.
Please, may we know your name and where you are calling from?
I'm calling from Teshi, Adenta.
Teshi?
I'm called Kwame. Adenta, I'm called Kwame Ben.
You are called Kwame Ben?
Adenta.
Yes,
oh, okay. Kwame Ben, can we hear you? Is it a question or a contribution?
It's a nice program. I was listening.
Okay,
but
so go ahead.
The scratches, so I was not hearing it well. Was farmer has been coming to us where we can mount the extinguishers, and sometimes too, if we pick if we press nothing come out. It seems it's kick. So if they can throw more highlight on the extinguisher for us.
Okay, thank you. I believe you got
yes. I hope you hear me. But you know, the service, the extinguisher that has been done, there's a company name tag on it. The fire officer has come to inspect. I don't believe the fire officer serviced the extinguisher and brought it to you. I don't believe that, because that is not his work. They are trained not to do that job. But the service provider there, who has put his name tag on it and has written the servicing date and the next expiring date, or the next servicing date, call that person, tell him that he has done the job, but the product is not coming. I don't know when you tried using it. Did you try just testing it, or you decided to... I don't know how you observe that when you press it doesn't come. I don't know. So call the expert, the one who installed. And if he's done a very bad job, I think you can go further and sue him because he's giving a bad product. But the fire officer did not do that.
No, I don't think...
And he's gone. He's just...
So the concern now is that, is it a dry powder that he's talking about, or CO2? With a dry powder, once you tamper with it, meaning that the next 3 days, you may lose all the pressure. So the powder will not come out.
So that means extinguishers are not supposed to be tested.
Or no, not supposed to be tried.
You try it.
The moment they are sealed, it means it is in the right
condition.
We assume that it is in the right condition.
For instance, this seal, the yellow one.
The yellow one, yes.
Is the seal.
Yes.
When you go and the seal is off, it means that's been tempered
with.
And therefore that extinguisher has been used. Or the weight, if you don't have the expert, but you will not. Like this same thing. If you remove this seal is the one that holds on, that they cannot pierce or whatever, cannot discharge the content from here. So when this seal is off, it means that somebody has tampered with it or it has been used. You can also check for the use by looking at this side. You either hit, if it is used,
when you hit it.
If somebody has used it and you hit this one, you see a content of powder coming up from. These are indications, symbols to prove that the thing has been used.
Tampered with.
Have been tampered with.
So that means when it comes to the dry powder, because we have either store pressure or cartridges, you are able to determine. But what of the fire extinguisher, the carbon dioxide, that does not have a gauge on it? How do you know whether that one has been?
The only safety for this one is the seal. The moment the seal is off, somebody has pulled the pin. Without the, if you don't pull the safety, you cannot pull the pin. So the person has already taken it, has used it, and that is. So for expert advice, you'll be able to know whether the weight
is still
5 kg, 3 or 3 kg.
Exactly.
That is how it is.
Yes.
You can't carry a scale around.
Let's share this experience. I had a call from a friend of mine on the Spintex route. And when I went there, he said, oh, somebody brought extinguishers. But in fact, the person was also there. The safety officer, the one in charge of the premises, when the service provider left, engaged all the extinguishers by way of testing them. So when after testing them the following day, they realized all the extinguishers were down, the gauges were down. So they called the service provider, and the service provider tried explaining to them that no, once it has been tampered with, they said, no, you brought it yesterday. So that friend of mine called me. I assisted him when he was coming for his fire certificate. So he called me, and then I went there. Then when I went there, I checked everything. I said, what happened to the seals? Because all the seals are broken. And then the safety officer said, yes, he has to test it to see if the FCC said. I said, oh. So, they are Indians. And I said, oh, Mr. Deepak, it's very unfortunate. Once your safety officer has tested the extinguishers, then that means all those extinguishers must go back for servicing at your own cost, because your safety officer was not well informed. Extinguishers are not tested. When they bring it, this is what you are supposed to look at. You can check for the weight, check for the gauge. If it's a 202, you check for the weight. The dry powder, you can also check for the weight, and then the gauge. If the gauge has fallen, then what it means is that the extinguishers have been tampered with, and that you can't use them again. So the service provider was right. And then this man got furious and walked. So these are some of the things. So this is a learning process. Viewers, you can still call us on 050-960-8744. 050-960-8744. There is another thing too we want to look at. How to operate the fire extinguisher. This is a layman. I only have an extinguisher. How do I determine how to use the fire extinguisher? Yes,
you take it.
Yes, sir.
You see, the extinguisher usage requires, there are some key words that we normally talk about. We use the acronym PASS. And it's difficult to explain. You have, the best thing is, you have a pin in there. After you break the seal, you pull it. And then the A stands for, what do you call it?
Aim.
Aim. You aim, you pull, you see, demonstrate it. I think you can do it. You can demonstrate it. You see, this is the hose. Can you zoom in for them? This is the hose. You can see that there's a difference between this one, which is the hose, and then the horn, which is the carbon dioxide one. That's the horn. The horn has the carbon dioxide here. Now, this is locked here. The seal is here. The seal is linked to the pin. The safety pin closes the gap between this and the content and the hose reel. So the moment you break the seal, you give access to the pin. So you pull this pin. If you're not careful and you don't know how to use it, you pull the pin and you tight this, you are squeezing it, and the content will start coming out. So what you do is you take this one. All right? Now that you are safe, that the pin is off, you have not squeezed this. You hold this one to the base of the fire, and then you squeeze it. That's the second S. Then the third one is you what?
You sweep side.
You sweep.
Side.
Why are you sweeping? Because if you do it in one point, it means that the carbon, the oxygen and the medium will be in one direction. But the moment you sweep, you brush off the oxygen and then put in place the powder. That is the difference. So we use the term PASS as an acronym to make it very easier for everybody who has it. But the best thing is the seal must go off. So the pin is pulled, then you hold the hose or the horn towards the base of the fire, and then you squeeze, then you sweep. The sweep is getting you an opportunity to be able to clear some oxygen with the powder and bring it up and down, because the oxygen is the one which is doing that to make the fire continue. So when you do that, you end up putting up. Yes.
As a question here, I believe, so that you add it to it.
Okay.
Someone is saying he tried using the CO2,
Yeah.
but then he was torn into two. That is Efo Kojo, whether to hold the horn or the metal part of the horn. Is a question on Facebook. That is
Okay.
Efo Kojo.
Okay. Efukoyo, your issue is very simple. You see, when you hold here, the one that comes.
You can use more the CO2.
Yes. Oh no, I don't want to use it. You see, the horn, the carbon dioxide is compressed, and it comes out with a very cold, like it's like ice frost.
Exactly.
It will burn you. Therefore, you won't feel comfortable holding it and putting it there. The best way is to hold it from this side. If you are watching the TV, you can see it. Then you press here to squeeze, and then you do that.
Sweep side by
Sweep the
side.
side. Don't hold here to give you
Frostbite.
Frostbite. Unlike the hose, that one there's no cold in here. Therefore, you can conveniently hold this one. But be careful about the direction of the wind. When you're using this, if you go and stand, the wind is blowing and you are doing it, it will come on you and you
So
yourself.
we should always look at the wind direction.
The wind direction
before
before
we
you fight
Those
the
fights.
extinguishers.
Sorry.
For the first time, you want to use the extinguisher, especially the dry powder, you need to raise it and turn it this way, allow it to flow, telling you that the powder in can easily come out. If not, you may press, the gas will come out, and the powder will not flow. Yeah.
Okay. So, we have a little challenge. Who is supposed to service the fire extinguisher?
I've told you that there are classifications of service providers, and they are registered and given jobs to do. Some of them are registered as maintenance, fire extinguisher maintenance. Some are given authority to do installation, and some are given authority to do servicing. So depending on your category that you have been given to, you are to do that particular job. Extinguishers are to be serviced by service providers who are registered with fire service. That's what the law requires. And that person provides the tag for you as a fire officer to go and inspect. Fire service do not have a plant filling machine, neither does it service fire extinguishers. That point is clear. Here is the fire service is a regulator, not an implementer.
So there's a question here from Efo Kojo. Efo Kojo, but I think Ellis Robinson, oh, that should be my boss. DO1 Oko said, that's my son. Keep shining. Thank you, sir. And then the Efo Kojo is back. Efo Kojo said, when he touched the pipe, he had a frostbite. Could it be that either there's a leakage or the rubber around the metal area has peeled off? Because there are some of the extinguishers that, yes, so please touch on that for us.
I think
You see, Efo, you must understand that this is metal. The metal has been designed to withhold the frostbite. Here, the frostbite will come. So I don't know whether this particular one is also raw plastic.
Whether he went to this side,
Whether you went in there and it was not well
was
tight.
leakage,
Uh-huh.
or probably
Anything could happen.
even the insulator here
Yes.
probably may have worn off.
So I would advise Efo Kwaju to send it to the service provider and let him check again and see what the problem is coming from. But I also want to strongly advise, never use any extinguisher or a carbon dioxide extinguisher without the horn. It will throw you away. Never. It's a deadly weapon, and therefore you must use it with the horn fixed on it. Never use it without the horn. All the extinguishers are designed in that form.
So there's a question. A bird had whispered, and you know anytime a bird whispers, it's a problem. People are claiming fire personnel comes to their offices and say this is their jurisdiction. And for that reason, if they are not given the permission to do servicing of extinguishers or other services to the fire service. When there's fire in their premises, they will not go. I'll let Deputy touch on that one.
Okay.
I do not understand this question of jurisdiction. Fire has no boundaries, and therefore nobody owns any community. Because when I have a fire in Medina, and the nearest firefighting station is Legon, or Medina truck is out of commission, then I can call Medina to take over, or can ask. Ghana has ever gone to Togo to go and fight fire before, so there's no jurisdiction and there's nobody talking about I'm in charge of this area, and therefore if you don't allow me to do the service in here, when fire comes, I will not attend. Anybody who tells you this, please report to the nearest or the commander and find out. That is not true. Fire service does not have. But when the person is coming there and he says, this is my jurisdiction, it means that he's a tagged fire inspector who has been given authority by the district commander or the regional commander to be able to conduct the fire inspection within that jurisdiction. That one I agree to that. But to add the statement that if you don't allow me and fire comes and I will not attend this, it's unacceptable comments, and that must not be encouraged. I don't think the fire officers with their profession and training will say those words.
So do we have the right to say we can't go for when there's fire at a particular premises and they call us? Do we have the right to say we can't go?
We don't have.
So do you have?
We don't have. The law says that's our core mandate. So
you can even enter a premises
without
you deem it that the fire is happening without even you being invited. You must go in and fight. That is the law that on your ID card. They are all written. That's permission to. There's something to enter. Authority to enter. You can enter any house anywhere you think there's fire. Go in there. So we don't expect that you're a fireman, you're sitting in a car, and it's on fire, and you get down and run away. Ask for the extinguisher and move to where the fire is and put it off. That is your part of your training.
Would you like to add something to it? Because
yes, you made mention. You made mention of the inspection. In the law, that's Regulation 12 says that we shall inspect, not servicing. So every 6 months, a fire officer is supposed to go out there to check, inspect all the fire protocols that you have. With fire extinguisher, you need to check the date of installation, you need to check who was servicing or who services these facilities. And based on that, if there are any deficiencies that you identify, you advise the occupier or the facility owner so that the right thing is done.
Okay. Viewers, this is how far time will permit us. Let me thank my resource people, Deputy Kwatin and the DO1 AFU for coming. We are not done yet. I think there are still areas we need to touch on. So next week we will be here. But then we've learned something today, how to operate the fire extinguisher. Deputy said the acronym is PASS. You pull out the safety pin. There's normally a question out there that what is the use of the safety pin? We are saying it is to prevent accidental operation of the fire extinguisher. That is why you have the safety pin there and then the seal on it. So the moment you break the seal, you've compromised the extinguisher. And at any given time, you can bring out the pool and accidentally the extinguisher will be operated. And then the letter A is what? Is to aim at the seat or base of fire. Here, we are not talking about the flames. We are talking about the object that is on fire and where the flame is coming from. That is where we call the seat of, or the base of the fire. And then the third letter is to squeeze or strike. The old extinguishers had a knob on it. So those ones we used to strike. When you strike it, the content comes out. But at least the latest one in town, you squeeze the levers. When you squeeze the operating lever and the lifting lever, the content comes out. And then the last letter is to sweep side by side on the fire. And then automatically the fire goes off. Once again, my name is Station Officer 1, Michael Walter Okain, sitting in for ADO 1, Juan Ajay Jamesi, who is still in the honeymoon mood, probably he should join us very soon and then would come over and then take over. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, viewers.
Thank you.